Vikings, let's win this game.
Vikings fans, the day is wild with the latest updates. A star on the offense is starting to run out of patience with the quarterback situation. And to calm things down, a veteran could show up as a short-term fix. There is also an experienced name just waiting for the call to get signed. Behind the scenes, the most powerful front office chair has a real candidate. And to close it out, the financial bomb that has to be handled before the best free agents slip away. Some things start as a distant rumor and suddenly turn into a serious conversation among who lives and breathes Vikings football. The quarterback situation is not just talk show noise. It can hit right at the heart of our biggest star. And when I say biggest, you know exactly who I mean. Justin Jefferson is the face of this offense. He is rare talent. He is on a $140 million deal through 2028. And so far, he has never had a truly elite quarterback throwing to him in Minnesota. Still, he put up ridiculous numbers. Still, he wore the purple and gold with pride. But sticking with J.J. McCarthy as the main plan is starting to raise eyebrows outside the building. Zach Gelb flat out said that if the franchise keeps riding with this too long and the results do not show up, it could reach a point of no return. And when you talk about a point of no return involving Justin Jefferson, that gives you chills. Nobody here is saying he asked out. He did not. He has always been a pro. He has always said the right things. But trust is built with firm decisions, too. The firing of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah showed the front office understood how big the problem is. Kevin O'Connell promised veteran competition for McCarthy. That helps a little. But picture one more year of numbers below the standard. One more year missing the playoffs. Justin Jefferson watching Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones leave and have positive moments elsewhere. Watching names like Aaron Rodgers or Kyler Murray be possibilities that never actually happened. That weighs on you. Will he support J.J. McCarthy? Of course he will. He is not the type to throw a teammate into the fire. But support is not the same thing as endless patience. And a star of that size wants to chase a Super Bowl, not just hear another rebuild promise. And here is something almost nobody says out loud. Losing a player like that's trust does not happen all at once. It is drip by drip. Decision by decision. Season by season. And when you finally notice, it is already gone. This is the kind of fan read you only get from someone who feels every snap, not someone staring at a cold spreadsheet. Justin Jefferson loves Minnesota, but he loves competing even more. And those two things have to stay tied together. Stay to the end because the last story explains why this scenario could get even more delicate. Now I want to hear from you. If the franchise goes all in on J.J. McCarthy again and it does not work, do you think Justin Jefferson starts rethinking his future? Tell me what you think in the comments. And hold on, because the next name that just entered this conversation could completely change the tone of this debate. While we debate the future, an experienced name quietly slid onto the radar and could become a real piece of this puzzle. He is not a headline superstar. He is not a long-term swing. But he could shake up the quarterback room in an interesting way. Andy Dalton popped up as a real trade possibility. The general manager of his current team made it clear that if an offer shows up, he will talk to Dalton and give him the chance to explore it. That already changes the landscape. This is not empty speculation. Dalton brings something J.J. McCarthy is still building, real time in the league. Years as a starter. Sharp pre-snap reads. A calm, steady leadership style. He completed nearly 65% of his passes over the last few seasons, and even on a shaky team, he kept things afloat when he had to step in. But here is the dilemma. He will turn 39 during the 2026 season. He has not had a winning season as a starter in a long time. Since 2019, the record is rough. And that matters in the decision because adding someone just to not get in the way does not solve the structural issue. To be honest with you, Andy Dalton does not raise the franchise's ceiling. He can steady things. He can mentor. He can provide insurance if there is an injury. But he does not walk in with that aura of someone who pushes the roster to a new level. And then you hit the most delicate point. What does the front office want for 2026? If the goal is simply to protect J.J. McCarthy and give him a mentor, Dalton makes sense. He could repeat what he did when Bryce Young got benched. Step in, organize, teach, keep the environment healthy. But if the goal is to truly push McCarthy to light a real competitive fire in training camp, Dalton might be too small of a move. Joe Flacco is available in free agency and would cost fewer assets. Other names with a higher ceiling could pop up. Dalton is safety. He is not a real threat to take over long term. And sometimes safety keeps everything stuck in the same place. I keep thinking about how that lands in the locker room. Justin Jefferson wants growth. The defense wants stability. The fan base wants real progress. Would bringing in Andy Dalton feel like smart caution or like fear of taking a real swing? That is the thin line. And there is one more detail people do not talk about enough. Dalton can handle a hybrid role. He can compete without making it toxic. That has value, especially on a young roster, especially in a division that punishes every mistake. But can Minnesota afford to bet only on stability? Because stability does not guarantee the playoffs. It definitely does not guarantee a real title push. The decision on Andy Dalton is less about him and more about the franchise's mindset right now. If he comes in, it signals caution. If he does not, it might mean something bolder is coming. And speaking of bold, the next name in this conversation is much bigger. A quick message: subscribe to the channel. It is free, and it helps strengthen this community in a huge way. Now the conversation jumps up a level, because when this name starts circulating, you feel a different kind of silence in the air. This is not just depth chart chatter. This is a move that could redefine the entire season. Derek Carr is back in the spotlight. After missing time with a shoulder issue and giving off retirement vibes, he left the door open to return. And when a quarterback with more than 41,000 passing yards and 257 touchdowns says he might come back, the whole league listens. Albert Breer said the interest will be real, but quiet. Teams will work behind the scenes. No big public noise. And that tracks. Carr did not play last year. He had surgery. Everyone will want to know where he is physically. But if he is close to what he was with the Raiders, we are talking about a 4-time Pro Bowler, a quarterback who has carried an offense, a guy who understands pressure, a guy who has lived the all-or-nothing grind. To be honest with you, as a bridge option, Derek Carr is far more interesting than a lot of alternatives we have heard so far. He is not a 10-year answer, but he could be the piece that keeps the team competitive while J.J. McCarthy develops or fights for the job. And here's a detail that matters a lot. Carr said he only comes back if he is healthy and if he sees a real Super Bowl path. That changes the whole vibe. He is not chasing just a contract. He wants a winning plan. Does Minnesota offer that? That is the question. Nick Shook called the Vikings an ideal fit. Open competition, a well-built offensive system, talent around the quarterback, a situation that could reignite a veteran. And Carr would not come in as a background guy. He would come in to compete. Imagine a training camp with Derek Carr and J.J. McCarthy battling for the starting job. The intensity would spike. The standard would spike too. And the message to the roster would be clear. Nobody has a guaranteed seat. Of course there is risk. Being away for 1 year is not a small detail. A repaired shoulder is not a small detail. And a veteran contract is never simple. But compared with other options, Carr offers something rare in this market. High-level experience at a price that could be manageable. And let's be real. In a draft that is not overflowing with plug-and-play quarterbacks, having a name like this available is an opportunity that does not show up every year. I keep picturing what it would mean for Justin Jefferson, a veteran with a proven track record throwing to him, a steadier offense. A different story than last season, but this decision takes courage, and it takes conviction that Carr still has fuel left. Because if he comes in and plays well, it changes the direction of the team. If he comes in and does not, the pressure doubles. And before any official move happens, there is another internal decision that could influence all of this, and it sits way up top in the building. While we argue about who is throwing the ball, there is another empty chair that weighs just as much as quarterback, and this decision can shape the future of the team for years. This is not light stuff. This is not just paperwork. After the departure of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the general manager job is officially still open. Rob Brzezinski stepped in as the interim. He has been with the franchise since 1999. He knows every hallway in the building. He has held multiple roles. Now he runs football operations and will lead the draft. He has experience. He has real internal respect. He is the natural favorite. But there is an external name gaining traction behind the scenes, Reed Burkhardt. And there is a real story here. He started as a Vikings intern. He climbed step by step. He spent 13 years with the organization. Then he followed George Paton to Denver and became an assistant general manager in 2025. So he is not a stranger to the building. He knows the culture. He knows the Wilf family. He knows how the fan base reacts when things go sideways. That matters. To be honest with you, the choice between Rob Brzezinski and Reed Burkhardt is deeper than it looks. This is not just a resume battle. It is about vision. Brzezinski represents continuity, stability, cap management. He has always been the engine room guy for the financial side. In a moment where the team has to fix the numbers, that carries weight. Burkhardt represents a refresh, a newer perspective, recent experience in a different structure. He could bring a different approach to scouting and roster building, and maybe a bit more aggressiveness. Mark Wilf was in Indianapolis for the Combine. That is not a casual trip. That is observation. That is behind-the-scenes conversation. That is information gathering. And think about it. Whoever takes this chair will decide the quarterback direction. He will decide painful cuts. He will decide how to handle stars like Justin Jefferson. That is real power. I keep thinking about how the locker room sees it. A change at the top always brings excitement. It also brings anxiety, because philosophy changes, priorities change. Sometimes even the internal hierarchy shifts. You cannot treat this choice like a side plot. It connects directly to everything we have talked about. Quarterback, cap, reset, pressure to win. If they bring in someone from outside, it signals the franchise wants to reshape the path. If they keep Brzezinski, it suggests confidence in the current structure. And look, depending on that call, the next financial step could get even tighter, and that is where things get truly heavy. Take a deep breath with me, because everything we talked about can slam into a very hard financial wall. This is not over-the-top drama. This is cold math that hurts. The salary cap for the 2026 season was updated to $301.2 million, and the Vikings are sitting about $45.5 million over the limit. According to reporting and follow-up from Kevin Seifert, that is the second largest cap deficit in the league right now. It is not catastrophic, but it requires precise surgery. Being over the cap is not a death sentence. Teams adjust contracts every year. They restructure bonuses. They push money forward. The problem is the domino effect. You want to bring in real competition for J.J. McCarthy. You need room. You want to convince Derek Carr or another veteran with real juice? You need space. You want to keep Justin Jefferson happy with a roster that can win? You have to invest around him. And then the painful decisions start. Javon Hargrave did not deliver like they hoped. They are trying to trade him. If nobody bites, a cut becomes the likely route. That frees up about $11 million. But it creates a hole on the defensive line. Ryan Kelly dealt with concussions and could retire. If he is out, it becomes an urgent need at center. Harrison Smith is trending toward a possible goodbye, and his leadership is not easy to replace. To be honest with you, the team is going to have to choose where it hurts least, because at least one major move is coming, and every exit creates a new need. There is also the TJ Hawkinson situation. A restructure feels like a must. A cut would be extreme, but keeping him as is squeezes the budget even harder. The cornerback group is still a problem, and the division does not let you hide weaknesses. Minnesota invested big in the trenches recently, and not everything clicked. Now they are paying for that swing. The draft helps. Rookie deals are more affordable, but rookies do not fix everything instantly, especially when the goal is to compete in the NFC North, which is tough and physical. This cap reality directly affects the other four stories we hit. An expensive quarterback? Tough. A new general manager who wants a full makeover? You have to be careful. A star on offense demanding progress? Pressure rises. This is the moment where roster management matters as much as talent on the field, and at the end of the day, it all comes down to one simple question. Will the franchise act with strategic courage or just try to survive the squeeze? Because what they decide now determines whether 2026 is a rebuild in disguise or a real jump forward, and that is exactly why this whole moment for the team in purple and gold deserves a bigger conversation. You know what hits me the most in all of this? It is not just quarterback. It is not just the cap. It is not just the general manager chair. It is the feeling that the franchise is at a crossroads. Justin Jefferson wants to compete at the highest level. The debate between J.J. McCarthy, Andy Dalton, or Derek Carr sets the tone for the offense. The choice between Rob Brzezinski and Reed Burkhardt points the franchise in a direction, and the salary cap hole forces decisions nobody likes to make. This is not a lukewarm moment. This is an identity moment. Either the Vikings take an aggressive stance and show they want to fight right now, or they accept a stretch of painful adjustments. Living in the middle is the worst-case scenario. I have watched this team fall and get back up. I have watched promise turn into frustration, but I have also watched rebuilds turn into historic runs. The difference was always courage in the decisions. Drop a comment, because this space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Vikings football. I want to feel the temperature of this fan base in purple and gold, because what comes next is not just a season, it is a direction. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings. Let's go.